Stephen A., what would be a success for LeBron with the Lakers?
Just getting to the playoffs right now. He's going to win a championship within the next 4 years. Obviously, that's the ultimate goal. But the bottom line is you got to get this team to the playoffs. And when you look at the Western Conference, Rachel, by the way, welcome to the show. When you think about what qualifies as success thus far, remember this. Number one, you're not better than Golden State. You're not better than Houston, even though they just lost Trevor Ariza, and that might compromise them a little bit. From there on, take away the top two seeds in the Western Conference. You have New Orleans, you have Utah, you have Portland, you have Oklahoma City, and you have the Lakers, all in that bunch. And that's assuming that they stand pat and everything remains as is. LeBron James obviously met with Magic Johnson 1 minute after the free agency period opened. Magic Johnson was at his door at 9:01. They were ready to go. Bottom line is that this man has told you he and LeBron James are going to lead this franchise into the future. It's one of those situations right now where you look at what LeBron James is supposed to bring to the table. They're still on the court. They're still talking with R.C. Buford, the general manager for the San Antonio Spurs. They were on the phone with them twice yesterday. So their anticipation is that they will get Kawhi Leonard, but we just don't know what's going to happen. But as presently constructed, with the team that you have, you're good enough to get to the playoffs and you're good enough to get to the Western Conference semifinals. That qualifies as success.
As constructed, when I look at this team, the only team that I give LeBron a pass for, as constructed right now, is if he loses to the Golden State Warriors. Somewhere in between that time, he's got to get a ring. I completely agree with that. And I'm going to shift gears to the Lakers front office. A success for them since they dropped the ball on a Paul George. They've got to keep Kuzma, and they've got to acquire Kawhi Leonard. Why? Health. They got to win now. You cannot wait. We keep talking about 4 years. LeBron is 33 years old. You don't know what next year has in store. Obviously, with age in the NBA, every year those injuries hurt a little more and a little more every time. So LeBron James has to get it done, and the Lakers have to make this happen for him now. And that was part of LeBron holding off and waiting. He wanted to have that leverage and know that they were committed to him and committing to winning now. I don't buy the 4-year plan, fellas.
Listen, I appreciate your point about Paul George. That's always the risk. Do you trade assets now to make sure you have the bird in hand, or do you wait, for two in the bush? Do you wait to say and keep your assets and just sign him when he becomes a free agent? And the second strategy, which is the tactic, I thought that was the right approach with Paul George, could result potentially in a huge payoff. Look, I got Kuzma, Ingram, and Paul George. But, of course, the risk is Paul George signs where he is. That's why it depends on who's Paul George. If it's Paul George, I'd say keep your assets, because as excellent as he is, he's not an MVP caliber player. Kawhi Leonard, though he's similar to Paul George, is an MVP caliber player. There are levels to this.
Here's the problem. You keep talking about levels. Well, guess what? There's health. Kawhi Leonard hasn't played one full season last year. We don't know who he is. And we're talking about levels. So if we're talking about levels, Paul George trumps Kawhi right now. What have you done for me lately?
Okay,
ideally, we get the same Kawhi. Look, Max, ideally the same Kawhi is there right now. We don't know if it's there. You could have had all three. And we talk about levels. Paul George is a guy, two-way player. Wouldn't you agree, Max, that he is on that same tier of a Kawhi and right behind a KD?
No,
and right?
He's below.
He's below. But he's in the ballpark.
There's a separate tier. No, yeah, I understand what you mean. But, ultimately you have to ask yourself, can that guy be the best player on a championship team? With LeBron and Kawhi, you got two guys like that. With Paul George, you don't really have that. It's a little bit different. He's excellent, but
you
it's
got
a little
LeBron.
bit different qualitatively. So what I'm saying, but even as his second banana, you got to get past the Warriors. LeBron and Kawhi, right away you go, okay. And then if you have Ingram and Kuzma, you've held on to those assets, you may be better off than with just Paul George. Ingram, Kuzma, Lonzo, all these different guys that you can keep throwing at teams. Guys who can switch, guys who can score, guys who can play defense.
Max, let me help you out right now. The only guy on that roster that gives me hope of this young nucleus is Kyle Kuzma. Right now, it's not Ingram. Why? Today's NBA is one with shooting. You need outside shooting, size, and versatility. And now Ingram's best position.
Has shown promises.
No. Ingram's best position right now would be handling the ball at point. That's why they experimented him with that at point. And now when you have LeBron James, you bring in a Lance Stevenson who's also a ball handler. You take away some of his best assets, which are his defense and his playmaking ability.
Well,
I don't want Ingram making plays.
But Ryan, I think they bring in Lance Stevenson because they're getting ready to trade Ingram, it seems to me. But we shall see. And again, another guy out there that I don't think is being talked about enough is Kemba Walker. You know, I mentioned even if they didn't get any of the guys, including LeBron, even had LeBron signed in Cleveland for a one-year deal or something like that, you could still set yourself up without huge MVP caliber splashes with a Clint Capella, a Kemba Walker, surrounding a Kuzma and guys like that, where you could slide a Kawhi or a LeBron in there and have a championship caliber roster.
Sounds
but
good.
What I'm saying right now is Kawhi, if he was willing to sign as a free agent, even if they can't get this done right now, don't forget, Kawhi, as you mentioned with the injury, may have to reestablish his actual value over the course of a season, and you get him at the trade deadline. But if you do get him at the trade deadline, he's cheaper than he is now because you didn't get him for most of the season, even though he's reestablished that he's healthy. There's so many different ways this can go. If the Lakers get Kawhi, no matter who they give up, save LeBron and Kawhi, as the nucleus, is enough to challenge anyone. Within a year, it's enough to win a championship. Not this year, but next.
Well, Max, we don't know
but
if he's
they
healthy.
wait on Kawhi, they may be in an even better situation.